we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Riding on the lifeboat. I'll be honest. It looks sunny and lovely behind me. It's 11 degrees. 11 degrees, people. I'll tell you what, I am so ready to move out of this state. I cannot begin to explain it. This winter has just dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. I'd like to get a hold of Punxsutawney Phil and drop kick him through the uprights. Hold on one second. Hi, day 5. It's getting difficult. I've never got past 5 before. Full of hope. Man, proud of you. Proud of you, proud of you, proud of you. Truthfully, that's awesome. All right, peeps, today we're going to talk about forgiveness. And we have talked about this subject about 7,000 times. And we're going to continue to talk about it. It's one of those things that I like to think of as a trigger emotion, because it's not the hungry, angry, lonely, tired. It's not the stuff that they talk about all of the time, but it brings up, it starts the ball rolling for bad things to happen. And there are so many misconceptions about recovery, in my humble opinion, a lot of misconceptions. First of all, it is one of it's one of the real times in life where it is way better to give than receive. I mean, it's nice when someone says, yeah, I forgive you. It really is. It's beautiful. But forgiveness is about clearing the mind, right? There's a reason that the root of the word forgive is to let go, to give away, to give away. If you're overwhelmed by the things that you think people have done to you, or by the things that you have done that you can't forgive yourself for, those are two sets of emotions that are going to absolutely threaten your serenity and your sobriety on a daily basis. Anything that threatens your serenity obviously threatens your sobriety. So we need to try and work through this whole forgiveness thing. I'll be really honest. If you go back and watch all of the Lifeboat, like from the very beginning, and you won't. I mean, there's a lot of Lifeboat to. It would be a challenge to go back to the beginning and watch all of these. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of Lifeboat. But I came on and said I was struggling with 2 people that I couldn't forgive, and people I had been holding on to these 2 people for, one for about a decade and one for maybe 7 years. And not a day went by that I didn't think about both of these people. Now, you remember the other day when we started talking about the difference between reality and perception? When you really get it in your mind that somebody has done you wrong, or you really get it in your mind that that there's a person out there really deserving of your hate, we tend to think that that person is out there hating on us, thinking about us. It's the reality is the two people that I needed to forgive, I would be willing to bet any amount of money they hadn't thought of me in a decade. One, for sure, hadn't thought of me in a decade. But here I am every single day, dragging this crap around like it's a 600-pound backpack. And it was actually somebody on the lifeboat, a individual who's no longer here, sadly. But it was actually somebody on the lifeboat that started to talk to me about the whole forgiveness thing. And then I read a few books about it, decided that most of the books that I read were crap, truthfully. A lot of platitudes. They all repeat the same things over and over and over again. But the real key to this, in my humble opinion, is to realize that we're giving it away. That 600-pound backpack, gave it away. Simply, I don't carry it. It's not something that I spend time on. Now, from time to time, does it crawl back into my head? Yeah, right around Father's Day. One of these people screwed over my dad. So right around Father's Day or my dad's birthday or any day that I spend a decent amount of time thinking about my father, at some point during that day, it's going to start crawling into my head that this person did my dad wrong. And it full of hope. That's really, it's funny that you say that. Let's see if I can put that thing up there. The forgiveness, pray for them by name for 21 days, right? Now, if you're not somebody that prays, meditate on them. I'm somebody that prays. And I'll be honest, it took a little longer than 21 days. But I remember sitting in a counseling session with somebody that said, you need to pray for that person every day. And this counselor had made it brutally clear that they didn't believe in God at any level. I said, you don't think there's a God, but you think I should pray for this person every day for months. How does that make any sense? And the counselor said, because you believe in a God. He said, I happen to understand your faith, and you need to do that. And you don't pray that I didn't pray. You can do whatever you want in prayer, but I didn't pray that God was going to remove the hate or any of, that kind of stuff. I literally prayed for the person. I just said, I hope they're doing all right. I really do. The difference between love and hate is a really fine line. The first person who said that was an absolute genius. If you think about it, love and hate are two emotions that mirror each other in so many ways. When you love somebody, you think about them often. They become a focus of much of your waking, especially at the beginning, right? When you first start loving somebody, you think about them all day long. Everything about them, right? Every aspect of them, you sit and dwell on that person in your head. In the very beginning, especially. I was talking to my lady yesterday, and it's closing in on a year and a half. It's been a long time. And we were talking about the differences between the beginning and, over time you get to know somebody better and you get to care for somebody on a different level. But in the very beginning, it's just that it's unique and it's exciting and it's one of those things that all encompassing. Or when you first start hating someone, it's the exact same thing, isn't it? You can't stop thinking about that person. Now, instead of thinking, ooh, maybe I should buy that person some flowers, or I wonder if that person likes, this kind of food versus that kind of food. You're thinking, I wonder how I could get this guy back. But you obsess about people you love and you obsess about people you hate. One of those two emotions is absolutely healthy. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that every single study that they've ever done on the difference between love and hate is pretty cut and dry. One of those emotions will kill you early. Plain and simple.
will absolutely take you off the planet faster than the other, while one will keep you here longer and, more importantly, make your quality of life while you're here a hell of a lot nicer. So how do you forgive somebody who really did you dirty? How do you forgive somebody? There are things, somebody says something, right? If it's words, it should be very, very easy. I'm sorry, but I realize that words cut. I realize that things that come out of people's mouth can be the most painful things in the world. But they're also really, really easy to let fly. You understand what I'm saying? There's somebody on the lifeboat who I got into a really, really good heated argument with. Based, I'm telling you, on love. That the entire argument was based on the fact that the both of us cared very, very deeply for each other. This person said some stuff that I know isn't this person. I know that the things said, it's not that the person's soul is nothing like that. And they have not stopped apologizing since. Right? They text me, they send me emails. It's to the point now where I go, hey, dude, gone, let it go. Right? I have forgotten about it. You need to forget about it. But the reason I bring that up is he said, it was actually done in a text, but he said, until I read it back, I didn't even realize just how hateful what I had written was. When you're caught up in the moment, you can say some really atrocious things that instantly you can't take back. And now we live in a day where not only can you not take it back, but there's a damn good chance you texted it, right? Or left it on a message or somewhere where it is now in perpetuity. People are going to be able to take this and throw it in your face and use it again and again and again. If you, the old let he who has never sinned toss the first stone. Whether you believe in God or not, there are certain things from the Bible that just ring so true that there's no other way around it. You start thinking about, if you've never done anything wrong, go ahead and judge those people. If something has never come out of your mouth that you went, oh man, I wish I hadn't said that. Oh man, I wish I hadn't said that. If that's never happened to you, well, then go ahead and maintain that hate for the person that said something to you that really hurt. Within the prison system, there are two words that are instant fistfight. You don't even have an option. If the person calls you one of those two names, you get up and you either, quietly go somewhere where the two of you can throw punches at one another until one is victorious, or you just throw down right there. But if you're called one of these names by somebody and you don't fight, the rest of the prison will make sure you're gone within a day, because it within that framework, it shows that you have no backbone. Then you get out into the real world, and those words don't mean the same thing in the real world that they mean in there. I remember leaving prison the first time, and somebody that I know throwing out one of those terms that they throw back and forth to each other like it's nothing. And before I made a decision, I had this guy's head on the bumper of my car, because I had just been programmed for years to say, no one can call me that. Recently, somebody else called me that. I'm not mad at him. Was I mad at the time? I was mad at the sentiment. I was mad that this individual knew that word means something, from a prison setting, and knows that I have been in prison. But again, people say things a whole lot quicker than they wish they had. So giving away that emotion, you don't have to give that emotion back to the person. So as I said, the beginning of the lifeboat, I had two people that I really was struggling with this whole forgiveness thing with. I mean, where it was an issue in my life. I haven't spoken to either of them. Right? I didn't call them up on the phone and say, hey, I just want you to know that I've gotten to the point where I forgive you. I gave it away. I didn't give it to them. There are, people, I've told the story on the lifeboat before, but I have I work with people, and ideally I work with people who do drugs. And I work with people about how to get sober, right? However, when you work with someone on how to get sober, very often people are going to be getting high because of things that happened to them in their youth, or things that happened to them, as they were growing, be young adults. They could even be adults, but there's a stumbling block that they want to make go away, and they use drugs or alcohol to make it go away. Well, I've told the story. I had a person reach out to me who had been assaulted sexually. The R word is one you don't want to use on the big red button. But this person had been through something really awful. And I'm not the person to be able to counsel someone on that. That individual needs group therapy, surrounded by people who know exactly what that entails, the emotions that it brings up, all of that. And I passed that on. But prior to hanging up, the person said, "But you're a believer in God." I said, "Yeah." Then how can you possibly forgive people that did something like that? I said, "Because I don't call them up and say, 'Hey, it's cool. We're the best of friends. Would you like to come over and get something to eat?' I give it away. In this case, give it away to the prison system. They're both caught. They're never getting out. I mean, never may be an exaggeration. One, I think, got 45 years. Their life is over. So don't carry around the hate anymore. I realize that that's easier said than done. But when you can give it away, give it to a prison system, give it to a higher power, right? Let vengeance be somebody other than yours. But if you're carrying around hate for another individual, it's not going to do anything to that individual. There's a great quote, and I will misquote the snot out of it, but chances are M. Hunt will get it and put it up into the comments. M. Hunt's pretty good. We're on some kind of communication. Very often, as I say something, M. Hunt will be typing it up there. But there's a quote about harboring hate for someone, and it's like drinking hemlock to try to poison a friend, right? It's like ingesting poison in hopes that you're going to hurt someone else. Carrying that stuff around is something that literally will destroy you. And there's only one thing worse in my mind, and that's when you carry around that same lack of forgiveness and that same hate and that same disdain for yourself. I keep thinking I have forgiven myself for my past. If you asked me that 5 days ago, I would have said, yeah, I've come to grips with everything that I've done in my past. I'm completely cool with it. And I've moved on. I have forgiven myself. I have given it away. But I hadn't. And I had a couple of days in a row that really brought that home. So there are definitely things that I still need to work through. But, I'm not a 12-step guy. I'm not a 12-step guy. I really am not. There are parts of it that just feel really culty to me. And I'm not busting on anybody that gets sober that way. I don't give a you-know-what how you get sober. If you get sober, it's a miracle and it's beautiful. But I'm not a big fan of the 12-step routine, and it didn't work for me. Works for some people. It did not work for me. But they call it working the program. It's one of the only things I really dug about the whole concept is that I think one of the reasons that they're successful, and they are successful, they have a 24% success rate. Believe it or not, that's really, really good. 24% is a very high success rate in what we're talking about. I had somebody ask me a great question yesterday. They said, do you think that if all of the stuff you're talking about on the night shows, not the morning shows, that if all of that were to come to fruition, that the success rate would be higher than 24%? People, I think that the success rate would double and maybe within a few decades triple. Not because you have availability. I'm not talking about that stuff, but I'm talking about treating people who are addicts as if they're suffering from a disease and should be treated as such, with compassion, with love, so that you find out exactly what is going on in their life and you try to repair that. Maybe they're not ready to quit, but maybe they need housing, the stuff like that we were talking about. I just got a hair or something that I can, there we go. This is one of those things that I think is essential to everything that is the lifeboat. So how many times, people, do you think you have heard me say, I don't shove my religion down anyone's throat? It's safe to say I've said that a dozen times, maybe. But here's the deal. I don't care what you believe at all. I don't. I don't care what you believe. But the way I look at it is this. There are two very distinct forces in this universe that I happen to believe in. One is love and the other is hate. I absolutely believe that those two things are more than emotions. They are forces. I have been in a room where 100 people were hating at the same time. And it is real. And I have been places where everybody in the room was exhibiting love. Those two emotions are far more than emotions. So whatever your belief is in anything, you don't have to believe in a higher power. You could believe in the universe. You could believe in whatever you want. But if it's moving you toward love, I think that that's probably going to be fairly healthy for you. It's not going to align with what I believe, but it doesn't have to align with what I believe. But if your belief is moving you in the opposite direction, if it's moving you toward hate, it's going to kill you. It's going to destroy your serenity, and it's going to eventually destroy your sobriety. And you're probably thinking, well, tell me that, there aren't a whole lot of religions that concentrate on hate. There are philosophies that concentrate on hate. Doesn't have to be a religion. If you got 3 people that you cannot forgive, and this is something that you're working with on a daily basis, then it doesn't much matter what your philosophy or your religion or your whatever is. You've got something in your life that is anchored to hate, and it's moving you in that direction on a daily basis. And you need to give it away. Not for those people. Every time somebody comes to me with you don't understand how much these people do not deserve forgiveness. Doesn't matter to me how much they don't deserve forgiveness. What matters to me is how much you deserve to not carry that crap around anymore. It will kill you. I'm not kidding. I have learned more about the body in the last couple of years, and what stressors can do to the body. If you've never had an ulcer, you literally can devour yourself. You literally can start to burn holes through yourself that require somebody going in there and burning them shut, which is, by the way, not a very pleasant experience. I have had that done. The point is this. It's not about those people. It shouldn't be any different if you try to forgive yourself. What I did, the stuff that I did, is very difficult to get over. Right? It really is. It really can make you feel guilty. So how do you forgive yourself? Because I give it to heroin. I give it to heroin. Heroin can have that. I wasn't making those decisions. Trust me, I wasn't. A guy that gets up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. to do the lifeboat, who spends 2 hours a day doing live feeds, and probably spends about 3.5 to 4 hours a day talking to people about sobriety on top of this, would not be the person that lived the life that I led before. They're two different people. Honest to God in heaven, I have one friend who never really went off the deep end in drugs. He was a friend from high school, but I checked in with him throughout my entire from 17 or 18 until probably about 3 or 4 years ago. We were in constant contact. About 3 or 4 years ago, he decided he was one political party. And every single time you talk to him, it's the only thing that he will talk about. And we never fought. I never even told him that I didn't agree with him politically, but it's difficult to call the guy. I love him. It's difficult to call the guy. But if he ever stumbles across this channel, he's literally going to have a heart attack. He's literally going to have a heart attack. It's not going to make any sense to him whatsoever. It's not going to make any sense to him whatsoever. Good morning, Lady Kurtzman. Good to see you. People, I've talked to you about Social Blade before. Hold on one second. Let me explain some things, because I just saw a comment that I had not seen, and I know a little bit about the story. If there's people out there who are intending to do you harm, right? Don't forgive someone in advance. Do you understand? Okay. Tommy, I'm going to come by on Friday at 2:00, and I'm going to hit you in the knee with a baseball bat. Hard enough that you're not going to walk ever again. Trust and believe I'm not going to forgive that person for that crime prior to them doing it. I'm going to do everything within my power to ensure that when they show up at that door, I'm going to be ready. And I respect your religious belief, my friend. I really do. And I respect the fact that it says in the good book that we're supposed to forgive. It also says there is a time for every season under the sun, right? And there's a time that requires you to do some really tough things. It says turn the other cheek. It does. It doesn't say you got to turn the other cheek before it happens. It doesn't say you walk up to somebody who you know is going to slap you just so you can turn the other cheek. You know what I mean? There can get to a point, and this is with anything, there can get to a point where your convictions can slide into an area that is going to hurt you. You know what really comes to mind when the Vietnam War was going on? There weren't a lot of people that enjoyed the concept of the Vietnam War. There were a few dirtbags, right, who were profiting on it. It's typical of any war. There were some people making a lot of money, right? There was a 3-letter agency that I think was really starting to spread their wings in the whole drug dealing thing. But most people were not fond of the conflict in Southeast Asia. And there were people who protested it. They held signs and they marched back and forth and they wrote songs. Largely, the whole Woodstock movement kind of came out of that whole concept, right? You can say and do things with your voice that may be able to change the world. There were also people who showed up with a gallon of gasoline, poured it over the top of themselves, and lit themselves on fire to protest the war. Both of those things are protests. Both of those things are based on conviction. One is friggin' ridiculous. I'm sorry. Self-immolation, burning yourself to death to make a point. I'm sorry. I don't get it. I don't get it. But that's conviction. Woo! Can't say that cat isn't convicted, right? Can't say that cat does not believe really strongly in what he believes in, enough to set himself on fire. So while it is awesome to believe in forgiveness, you don't have to do it at the point of having it cause danger to you, right? If somebody had shot me, I don't think I would go to their house to tell them I forgave them. I'm going to work through it, but I'm certainly going to try to avoid that individual for the rest of my existence. They freaking shot me. Right? It's probably not someone that I needed to go near. And in the situation that you're in, like you and I have talked, I would be 2 states over. I would be 2 states over. I would get out of Dodge, so to speak. You know, you really need to protect yourself more than anything else. You know, V, I love your name. I really do. The new name suits you. Dust off your sandals, mate. What a great expression. I really love that expression. And V, I love the new name, but I look for the V. You know what I mean? So it's going to take me another month or two to get used to, because I really do dig it. But I read the comment and I always go, "Who said that?" Oh, it's just you were always a very short. Okay, so prior to Linda telling me that I needed to address some things, and she was right. She's right often, to be really honest. Not 100% of the time, but often. So I was talking about forgiving yourself. People, there is very, very few people on the lifeboat who did things, hey ZW, who didn't do things under the influence of their substance that they regret. One of my favorite expressions in this, in self-forgiveness is who in their right mind? Who in their right mind? We throw that one out like rule of thumb, or like those other expressions that we don't even think about them, right? We just say them. Yeah, no one in their right mind would do that. Think about that. So I robbed banks. Nobody in their right mind robs a bank. They don't. Hurting somebody for money. Nobody in their right mind does that. Stealing or lying from their family. Is that something someone in their right mind does? No. That's somebody with a disease of the mind. So once I pop out on the other side of that, how much sense does it make to not forgive myself for the times where I was not in my right mind? I own them. I accept them. Like, no, I don't think anybody on the lifeboat has ever heard me come on here and say, I'm a victim for going to prison. I put myself in prison. I did. Bad decisions, tons of them. Now, I wasn't at the helm, so I can forgive myself for those bad decisions. But I got to take responsibility for them, because had I never stuck a needle in my arm the first time, well, there'd be no telling where I am, where I would be now. So, as I said, somebody emailed me and said, do you think that, that 24%, success rate might get higher? When you can walk up to somebody and say, hey, I have an opiate use disorder. I have an alcohol abuse disorder, and have it be no different than saying I'm a diabetic. When it is a disease that is not part of an identity, I think that number is going to go way the hell up. But just look how family treats it. I love my family. And I think I got one of the best. I really do. I believe I got one of the best families that anyone ever got. I mean, really loving, caring people. But if we're at a cocktail party, right, or we're at a Christmas party, we're at a function where there's 30 or 40 people, and someone says, Tommy, you moved out of Nevada for a few years, didn't you? I think I haven't seen you in like 5 or 6 years. What have you been up to? I can see the look of sheer terror on everyone in my family's face. They just do not want that truth out. Doesn't make them bad people, but it's certainly something we got to get over as a society. We really, really do. But that is the reality. The illustration I use all the time is, you come home and you're excited and you say, I just want you to know I've got 365 days sober today, man. I made 1 year today. How great is that? And they go, oh, that is awesome. Your uncle's going to be here in 15 minutes. Please don't tell him that. That's messed up. And that's the world we live in. No wonder it's hard to forgive yourself. No wonder it's hard to forgive yourself. Everybody on the planet treats you like a leper. Proud as hell of you. Don't tell anyone. Really, really proud, but don't wear a T-shirt or anything. What's that on your hat? Right? Imagine wearing a hat that said Narcotics Anonymous. My family wouldn't be very happy, and they're good people. They really are. They're good people, but hey, Luke Skywalker. When I got divorced 10 years ago is when I started drinking heavily. Well, that makes an awful lot of sense, doesn't it? That makes an awful lot of sense. Divorce is a very painful thing, and chemicals, more often than not, are used to deal with memories we can't handle or pain we can't handle, right? I'd been a drug addict from a very, very young age. But when my divorce happened, right, I'd been married for, 15 years, something like that. When my divorce happened, I went from being a drug addict to being a drug addicted criminal that didn't care. I went to the point where I started robbing banks, and I went to the point where I wanted to see just how much heroin I could get in my body. Like, that was the daily goal. No exaggeration. I wanted to see how much of that I could get into my body every single day and still keep myself on the planet. I wasn't trying to take myself out, but I was trying to numb myself in ways that were really unhealthy. So, my friend, 10 years ago, the divorce happens and you begin drinking. The question is, the healing process now really needs to start kicking into high gear. And the self-awareness, being aware of the fact that, the divorce happened and I started drinking. If you think that's just because your wife wasn't there to say, hey, how many beers have you had? Then that's a problem. But if you realize that you used alcohol as a coping skill, well, then you're well on your way. You're well on your way. It is not a great coping mechanism. Alcohol is not a great one. There are many better methods. Getting counseling is a really good method. Hey, everybody. If we could get some ones up there for Daniel Theobald, his court today. And I know what that feels like. Well, Mr. Skywalker, not doing yourself any favors is something that most of us can relate to. Most of us can relate to. And your substance of choice is a poison. Plain and simple, it's a poison. And as such, it has to get filtered out through your liver. It is also one of the absolute greatest ways in the world to get rid of water. So when we clean watch parts, you put them in a ultrasonic cleaner. You disassemble the entire watch. You put it into an ultrasonic cleaner to blow off any small little particles of dirt. And you use a type of, a distilled water. So you don't want any impurities of any kind. And then you know how you dry all of the water off of that? You hit it with a spray of alcohol, because alcohol will suck up water out of anything it touches. It's better than anything in the world for eliminating water. And it does the same damn thing in your body to every single cell that you have. And trust and believe, you're 80% water. So when you start getting all of that water sucked out of your cells, bad things begin to happen. All of us know somebody that drank for 50 years. And you look at them and you go, ooh, you can really see that this person did some damage. Welcome, Pariah. People, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I really do. People, if you're a member of the lifeboat, you have got to be going, Tommy sucks. I'm well aware of that. I really am. I don't, there's just really no way to do this the way I would like to do this. So I think we're just going to go like this. I've got a couple of things that I don't discuss on the lifeboat because it just, I come on here and I say stuff like, hey, I could really use some prayers. Or I come on here and I say stuff like, I'm having some health issues. Right? I'm having some things going on that are difficult. I think it would be a bad idea for me to literally share every single thing that happens to me physically, or, to come on and say, hey, I need prayers. I think that that's pretty decent. And a couple of people have said, I want to pray very specifically. If the God that you're praying to does not know what's going on with my health, then you need to find a new God. Sorry, but for real, right? But to make a long story short, I've got some issues. I will not be dead in the near future, nothing like that. We've talked about my traumatic brain injury. Traumatic brain injury, the longer that it runs, can get to a point where it starts making parts of what is normal for every day not work the way it's supposed to. Right? So, I've been open with some of this stuff. At least one time or another, there's been some times where there was just no getting around it. Like 8 or 9 days go by that you're unable to go to the bathroom, right? That's going to require going and seeing somebody instantly. And it's, if I miss a show, I usually tell people why. Yeah, crazy cat is wise. I should be really honored. If you go over to Social Blade, it says today that we just beat the 200,000 views. That's 200,000 people attending a group therapy session. That's pretty cool stuff. Truth of the matter is that happened a long time ago. Social Blade is usually a couple of weeks behind. Right. They can't really report what's happening today because they've got to go through and find out how many views really were in views and all of that jazz. But I'll bet you my trolls were 50,000 of those 200,000 views. They come every day. You know what I mean? They don't miss it. God bless them. Seriously, God bless them. I don't watch them. I honestly don't have the time. I don't even have the time to watch my brother, right? And I love him. I catch very few of my brother's shows these days. I just don't have time. You know what, Scoob? There's a lot of different things that they're trying that is going to help me out. But I've got some health issues that I'm working through. And it's not an excuse. It's just a fact. The other thing was that prior to all of the equipment that I bought, you just simply could not do a live feed for members only. And I don't record stuff. I don't, by design. This back and forth is the lifeboat. I don't enjoy it if it's not this way. This is my therapy as much as it's your therapy. And when I began the membership stuff, I wanted a group of people that when I did a live feed was small enough that they could ask me questions that maybe I trusted the group enough to tell everybody. And in the beginning of the memberships, we had about 4 of my haters who were buying memberships and sticking around. They're not anymore. Those names have fallen off. Apparently they got tired of paying and not getting anything juicy that they could use in their videos. You know what, Crazy Cat, don't give me too much credit. I mean, honestly, don't give me too much credit. I'm trying. I am trying to be a better man. I really am. Every day I'm trying to be a better man. I can truthfully and honestly say that. But I'm of the firm belief that there was only one person that really was any good at this whole human being thing. And there have been some that have tried and done really, really well, but there was really only one that had it mastered. And that's because of who his father was. Thank you, CK. I appreciate that. I'm glad we've been gifted a membership every time one comes, because I'm trying to make money to get it myself. The reason that I bring it up is there are going to be some membership things. I promise you. How am I feeling about the radio interview? That's a great question. That really is a great question. So there's a really good chance that this radio interview is going to be a debate more than an interview. And the individual that I'm going to be talking to is a professional. They talk for a living more than I do, which is pretty damn rare, right? Now, over the course of their entire life, I don't know how long this woman's been doing what she's doing, but this has kind of been, how I made a living for the majority of my life. I robbed some banks in there as well, but for the most part, public speaking is what I've done, and you can get really nervous about debates. You don't get nervous about public speaking, but you can get really nervous about debates because you just don't know what's coming at you. However, this subject matter is not one that I need to do a lot of studying up on before the debate. With all due respect to this woman, because she seems super nice. She really does. Never actually seen her, because radio is not that kind of forum. But the email she sent me was lovely, and when I listened to her on the radio, she seems like a very nice person. As most talk show hosts, you can get real clipped real quick. She has obviously dealt with debate, plenty of it. She's good at how she deals with it. But I guarantee you she doesn't know this subject matter like I do. And I don't care how much boning up you do over the weekend. I've spent the last 40 years or so having this be the focus of my entire life. The last 10 of those, joining leaving the dark side, so to speak. You know what? Ms. V says, I love listening to Fiona's voice. Yeah, Fiona has that absolutely lovely accent. I'm a big fan of accents. She really does have an excellent accent. Now, does that mean that there aren't times that that accent might not be as much fun to listen to? I'm kidding. Sorry. Thank you, Lady Crispin, for being up on that. So as far as it goes, I'm not nervous about this thing. I'm really not. I know the subject matter a whole lot better than she does. There's just no way that it could be any other way. If you're a talk show host, you have to know a whole lot about a whole lot. You need to know a little about a whole lot. If you're going to speak intelligently, you need to know about that much on a lot of subjects, because she only needs about 15 minutes worth of bullet points on any particular subject, right? In this style radio, 15 minutes is about all you really need to come up with of the thinking. I do this for 2 hours a day. I spent the last year and a half, I've done 1,000 hours or something like that, of this. So, and that's not counting the amount of time that I talk to people one-on-one during the day. In the last 2 years, good Lord, I would say about half of the time that I've been awake, I have been doing exactly what I'm doing right now. I don't think someone's going to do well debating me on drugs, especially on this particular issue of drugs. And this is great advice too for anybody who ever finds themselves needing to debate. Yeah, you know what? That's a pretty good way to put it, Puffinator. Her skills versus my knowledge. Um, and here's the thing with debate in general. Um, yeah, so when you find somebody who, you go out there, and I'm going to be talking about how I think that all drugs ought to be uh, made either decriminalized or legal. She's going to come out and say that that's absolutely insane, right? Because the M&M theory, so many more people are going to do it. Look at what's going to happen to our kids. Or she's going to come out and say, so basically, what you're saying is that we should give up. And one of the greatest tricks in public speaking or in debate is called feel, felt, found. Right? And I'm sure if there's anyone in sales here, they know this. Right? I know how you feel. I felt the exact same way. But you know what I found? Okay, so when you do the whole feel, felt, found trick, and you can word it any way you want, but they call it feel, felt, found because that's the easiest one to describe. But what you want to do is instantly say to somebody, "Yep, yeah, we're on the same level. We feel the exact same way about this." Right? And that's exactly where I was. But what I found is, and now all of a sudden, this isn't adversarial anymore. I'm not saying, well, you're an idiot because you think that, that we should continue the war on drugs. No, that's exactly how I felt. You don't want to give up. The last thing in the world you want to do is give up because we're giving those cartel people a win, right? No. Continuing doing what we're doing is giving those cartel people a win. Making the black market continue is making them richer than you can possibly imagine. You want to put them out of business? Make it so that their product is available anywhere. It gets real difficult to make a living. If the product is legal, the prices always drop. Problem, reaction, solution. I like it. That's it. Yeah. But I've spent a pretty decent amount of my life doing this. When you do like the public speaking that I did what's called BizOp, right? Business opportunity public speaking. So I'm there selling how to make money in real estate. I can't tell you how many times you show up in, let's say you're in Chicago, Illinois, and it's you're there in December, and you were there the previous November. Well, there's a really good chance that I sold a package to somebody in that room a year ago, and there's a damn good chance they didn't make any money in real estate. Very often, they come to the realization that it's their fault because they thought if I buy this $499 package, people are just going to mail me checks, which obviously is not how anything works, right? All you were being given was a roadmap. If you don't follow the roadmap, I don't care where you end up. But every once in a while, there would be people who would blame the speaker and would come to heckle. And if you think trolls suck on the net, it's a lot of fun when there's a person in the room, one-on-one. And I have seen that happen so many times in my life, I cannot begin to tell you. It's so suffice to say, I've had a decent amount of experience with people that disagree with you. In that situation, my favorite thing was I would always tell the guy that ran the lights, if a guy gets up and starts to heckle, put the spotlight on him. We don't want to hide this guy. Put the spotlight directly on him. Because there's a really decent chance that this guy is not nearly as comfortable being a public speaker as he is a yeller. So put that spotlight right on him. And then what I used to say is, sir, you know what? Come up here and make your point. Seriously, come up on stage with me real quick. I want you to tell everybody why you're upset. Come on up here. Not once in the entire time that I was speaking, and I did it for a long time, did anyone ever come up on stage. The idea, again, just statistically speaking, most people would rather be at the dentist than be in front of a crowd of people speaking. So, and that was not my genius. That was me watching somebody else in the beginning. I saw guys, do that, and I thought, well, that's smart. Put a spotlight on them and try to get that person up there. You could sit in the audience with a carton of eggs. No, the spotlight was always the best. And then just inviting the person up on stage. Sir, your point might be valid. Your point might be valid. It really might be. But you're screaming it from the back of the room. Like, that's not getting anything done. So come on up here. I'll hand you a microphone. Tell everybody here what the problem is. And then we'll see if we can't figure this out. Come on up. And you start like handing the microphone out and watch how fast that dude disappears. Now everybody is expecting you to go up and speak. And again, I literally never had one person do that. I think it would have been fun if they did. I once failed an English assignment because my Tourette's acted up and I couldn't answer my teacher. This is good. And I couldn't answer my teacher. Instead of helping, he kept asking the question. Scoob, harm reduction. If you don't mind me using this is a perfect example. If you don't know what's wrong with somebody, not only can you not help them, you can do a shitload of damage. Pardon me. That's such a great example. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but what a great example. If this person had anything on the ball, then this would have been a situation that you would have already forgotten. Just would have been another day. But it is a perfect example of how harm reduction can really affect somebody's life. And, the embarrassment of being put on the spot in front of a group of people or anything like that will stick with you your entire life. And I'm not making small of it. I'm not, or I wouldn't have brought it up. It can scar a person forever. But the harm reduction model on opiates and on cocaine, and on methamphetamine, people are dying. People are dying. Today, more than anything at this radio station, I want the people listening to realize that the 350 to 500 people a day, that's not a number. Those are human beings, right? They had dreams. When they were 6 years old, they ran downstairs and looked under the Christmas tree to see what Santa left them, right? They went to a senior prom. They got a driver's license for the first time. They got excited. They had dreams of what they were going to be when they grew up, just like everybody else on this planet. And then somewhere along the way, we stopped caring about them at all. Somewhere along the way, they became numbers. And I kind of believe that I'm supposed to make sure that the world realizes that those aren't numbers. I would like to see a wall like the Vietnam Memorial with the names of all of the people that have overdosed on opiates because of our crappy government not doing anything about it. For real. I mean, how many years did we fight Narcan? Can't give that out. Now they're saying you can give out as much of it as you want. Great. Doesn't work anymore. I'm not saying don't have it. But what are the odds that you're going to get somebody that is literally just on an opiate? Doesn't happen very often anymore, peeps. It really doesn't. Even all of the opiates now are being when the world feels black, when you're under attack, when your mind goes blue, when you don't know what to do, take a deep breath, climb out of your head, do something kind. They might be black and blue. You know what? The Scotch sonnet, if you had any idea, how long have we been doing this in one way or another, my friend? Truthfully, long before there was a lifeboat. Long before there was a lifeboat. So I met the Scotch sonnet October or November, somewhere in there of 2020. So I've been doing this a long time. I figured out my drinking and smoking was from me feeling traumatized. Hold on. Babies suckle to regulate their emotions when they are upset, type thing. Well, yeah, it's not such a bad illustration, but what it really comes down to is this, in my opinion, when you do get traumatized, anytime, if you have the disease of addiction, you're going to be uncomfortable in your own skin anytime something doesn't go perfect. So when a big one happens, like a divorce, then you're screwed. And what you need to do is instantly get into counseling, instantly start working every day with people who understand what you're going through. And there are groups out there that you could have been in, 10 years ago, of husbands that got blindsided, right? These are guys who sit in a room and talk and say stuff like, man, I bought the house. I took care of this woman. I loved her. I did, anything she needed. I did this for 15 years. And then I came home and she's, with the gardener. And somebody else in the room can go, oh, I know what you're going through. And hearing, I know what you're going through is one of the strongest things that we have in our arsenal of keeping people well, no matter what. Problem is, if you really don't know what they're going through and you say that, people just want to kill you. But if the person says, I know what you're going through, you do? Yeah, I absolutely do. Except my wife was with a babysitter. 19-year-old kid, hired him for 2 years. Those two people instantly now realize that the emotion going on in their life is real and that they're not the only person on the planet that feels that way. Isolationism is one of the problems of addiction. We isolate ourselves from the world, even if we're in a room. So I know people that don't understand that concept who say to me, oh, it's not like I isolate. Look, when I did heroin, I saw people every day. I just didn't have any interaction with them at all, other than what time's this dude showing up? Is this stuff any good? Has it got legs? Did you got a clean rig? Can we swing by Walmart and pick up a 10-pack? Like, those were the discussions I had with people. There was nothing, there were no connection. But I'll tell you something, Luke Skywalker. You have the opportunity to make connections here with people that really can understand exactly what it is that you're going through. I had the best history teacher. She never used that the book. Oh, you got to love that. You got to love that. She used actual articles from the 1800s. And she even thought, sorry, I don't have my glasses, people. She even brought us a piece of the Berlin Wall. Oh, how cool is that? There's when something becomes tangible. I have a friend that has a very large piece of the Berlin Wall because he was there when it came down. He was over in Germany for a rugby tournament, and he just happened to be there when it was coming down, and he's got a chunk of it about that big that he managed to get out of that country. But to touch it is, those things from history, it becomes real. It becomes something that you can instantly and really relate to. Those are the best teachers. I love Shakespeare, absolutely love Shakespeare, and most people don't. But I had a teacher that the first time, when they came in to do Shakespeare, the cat literally came in dressed up, like, had other people with him playing, instruments that had been gone for hundreds of years. And I was instantly fascinated. I was enough so that all of these years later, I can still quote just about every famous Shakespeare line on the planet. People, that brings us to the top of the hour. And I have probably got to, I got to get ready. On the Lifeboat group page over on FB, on Facebook, the second that I'm in that I get to go, and here's why I say this. I have gone to radio stations before to find out that they want to sit down, talk to you for an hour, and then schedule you for the following day. I was told in no uncertain terms that we're going live today. However, if I get in there and this woman feels like she needs to brush up a little bit more before we have a debate, I mean, I can go in and act stupid, but if we go in there and start talking and I get rescheduled, then I'm probably not going to post it. The second I know I'm going live, I will send a link over to the Facebook page and you can all listen to it. If you, by some chance, do not hear it, trust and believe I will be posting it. Trust and believe I will make it so that everybody on the boat can hear it. I want this to reach as many people as possible. I want things like this to be shared as far and wide as we can do it. The shows that we do where we talk about decriminalization, this is a discussion that the world has to have, or we're just going to keep having people die. And they're not numbers. They're people's best friends. And that sucks. All right, peeps. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. The cat is in the garage. And I will see you in about 11 hours. I will see you in about 11 hours. All right. People, it's going to be a great day. And do you know why it's going to be a great day? Love you too, full of hope. True story. Do you know why it's going to be a great day? Huh? Because I'm going to freaking make it one. Go out and do the same. All right. Love you, crew.